All right, like many of you, I was trapped into the thinking that I was successful financially. And I was fooled into that thinking because of the things that I had around me. See, I had nice cars, houses, I had things, but at the end of the day, I didn't have any money. I didn't have any savings, I didn't have any retirement savings, I didn't have any investments, I didn't have any real money. So for me, that classified as being broke. Regardless of whether I wanted to be a millionaire or financially free, I had to first deal with where I was in my life. And at that particular time, at 45 years old in 2018, I was broke. But I did make a decision at that time to say that I wouldn't remain broke. I think it's important that we make that decision at some point if you are in that situation to say, this is where I am, but this is certainly not where I am going to stay. This is where I am right now, but it's not where I'm going. So we have to change that in the way that we think, changing our mind about how we see money. You know, because I saw money in the sense that I made money and I spent money. And I think that's what most people do. We go out and get a job, we start making money and we start acquiring things, and then we start using the money that we're making on the job to pay for those things. And it becomes a constant thing of working to pay bills. And before you know it, you look up and you're paying bills, but you haven't given anything to yourself. If you have the desire to build wealth and you haven't given anything yourself, you have to look at that at some point and say, the way that I see things, my perspective, my ideology is not working. And you have to go out and look out there and find the way that works. And there are different people with different ways. I think it's important when somebody come and start talking to you about finances, I think it's important that you look at them and find out, hey, what are you doing? What's your net worth? Yeah, I hear you talking about becoming a millionaire and being financially successful, but tell me what your numbers are. Let's see your numbers. So then I can understand where you're coming from. I can, hear what you have to say. Because a lot of it is just noise. A lot of people are just talking a whole lot of noise. So that's a good place to start when somebody is talking to you about finances. Now, with me in my life, I started out wanting to be a millionaire in 2013. And the first thing I did was to quit my job. Now, how is it that you want to be a millionaire and then you quit your job? Well, I realized at that point that the job had taken me about as far as it can take me. Now I had to transition to what I was intended to do, and that was to be an entrepreneur, to be a business person, to take my own thoughts, my own creativity, and make and blaze a path for myself. I no longer could do that job thing anymore. It had taken me as far as it could. It was good while it lasted, but it was definitely time to get off of that particular train. So I did that. I got off of that train, got rid of the job, and I started on my entrepreneurial journey. And the reason why I thought this was necessary is because I knew that as an entrepreneur, I didn't have any limitations on the amount of money that I could make. With a job, I had a limit. I was going to make so much money per hour, so much money per year, but I controlled more of that myself. Being an entrepreneur, I control my own numbers. And what was important to me, because I had gotten a late start, I'm just starting really to build wealth in 2018 when I made my first investment of $500. So what was important to me then was saying, okay, I'm getting a late start, so I have to do more. I have to invest more money. Because when you get those late starts, that's the way that you catch up. You have to, of course, invest more money. So I thought the way of doing that was starting my own business, starting my own entrepreneurial journey to pave my own way. Of course, it doesn't always start out like you want it to start out. There's going to be some rough patches in there, and I ran into those patches as well, just like anybody does, but I found my way through it, and I kept going and continued to go, and I made the stock market. I said to myself, you know what? Let me look out here and see, where is it that I would put my money? If I had, to put my money somewhere and look at it and say, okay, I would be 100% okay with putting my money in here, and based off of what history says, I would have a good chance at, gaining some return on my money. I looked around in different places, and where I found that was the stock market. And I would highly, highly suggest for you to take a look at the stock market at some point in your life, sooner than later. Because to me, that's the best decision that a person can make when you're trying to build wealth, is to take a look at where are you going to grow your money at. Because we can't just save money. Saving money is not going to make you rich. You're not going to make enough money on the money when you're just saving money, or at least it'll take a whole lot longer to save enough money to become wealthy. No, so we want to be able to gain a return on our money, and the stock market is one of the best places that I've found to do that. Now, yes, you can do it in real estate, you can do it in cryptocurrency, you can do it in some different ways, but you might want to do it in a combination of some different ways, not just one or two ways, because I do it in cryptocurrency, not as much as I do it in the stock market, but I am definitely invested in cryptocurrency, invested in the stock market, invested in real estate, so there are some different ways that you're going to invest your money, but I just think it's, it's a little bit naive to miss out on the stock market gains. We're talking about over the last 100 years, it's averaged 10% returns over the last 100 years. So that's pretty solid if you ask me. Now, we know that past performance can't dictate future results, but we do know we do have some past performance there. We do have some history, some data that we can take a look at. And when I look at the data and when I look at what happens anytime the stock markets get in trouble, the government runs in to save it. The Fed runs in to save it. So I'm comfortable having my money there. That's why you'll see most of my money is in the stock market. And I don't have, bad time sleeping at night with it being there. Because I know that if it's in banks, inflation is eating it up. I know I'm not making any money. I'm actually losing money if it's just sitting in banks and savings accounts and CDs. So you can have some of your money into that with emergency funds and things like that that you're not trying to really make a return on. It's emergency. Bulk of my money is going to be invested. I want it to be making money because that's the way that we get wealthy. We get wealthy because money makes money. But I'll back up again. I know I jumped ahead a little bit, but when I quit my job and thought, say, hey, let's go and start this business, the idea was so I could generate more and more money. The biggest investment that I've made is in myself. And being able to grow a business, that business has been the second biggest investment, and the biggest return that I've gotten on my investment has come through the business. So the business was an excellent decision. And I think that if you are really serious about doing your own thing, at some point you'll have to look at doing it full time, because that way you can devote more time to it. And to me, when you're putting more time and attention into a business, you're going to have the best chance at growing it and it growing exponentially. But that's a key part, putting the time into doing it, starting that business so that you can start generating that income. Now, you've been generating income. Just like me. In my life, I was been generating income, but I didn't know what to do with that income, or I didn't make the right decisions with that income. I just, went out, purchased things, bought things, spent money, made money. That's just how that went. But now with my money, I start to look at it differently. I say, okay, I am going to buy shares in companies. I'm going to start buying businesses, because I know if I buy businesses, when these businesses have success, then I have success. My money grows. So it just makes more sense to me to buy assets with my money. And the more money that I can get to buy assets with, the better. I think that is just a key decision that you can make, is to start buying companies, buying shares in companies. Because when you're buying stocks, people say I'm gonna buy a stock, but you're basically buying a business. You're buying part ownership of that business. So you invest in things like Apple because you use Apple phones. You can invest in things like Microsoft because you use Microsoft, or Samsung, or whatever it might be. But it just makes sense to invest in those companies because they tend to do very well. And when they do well, I get a return as well. So that is how we grow wealth in the stock market. And I think that is one of the best ways of growing wealth. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's a real challenge, but it's really something that I get a lot of fulfillment out of. Playing the stock market game, playing the money game. There's no game like the money game, in my opinion. I mean, when you think about it, you might play basketball or football in high school, But at some point, that'll come to an end. And then what game are you going to look to play in? What game do you want to be competitive in at that point? For me, it's the money game. It keeps my competitive juices flowing. You know, I like to play that money game. Now, another part about getting in a position where you can start building wealth is after you've started building a business, you're starting to make money. Now you're starting to say, hey, I want to give myself more of my money than giving it to other people. You start getting out of debt. That was one of the things that was most important for me, is to get out of debt. And once I freed up and got out of debt, then I could start focusing more of my money into those investments. That's why I was able to grow my investments from zero to $385,000 in a matter of about 3 years. I made my first investment of $500 in 2018, and from zero to 385 in about a 3-year period. And it's because I was able to cut that debt down, and now all my money was going into investments in places that I wanted it to go instead of going to creditors. Okay, so I think cutting debt, slashing debt down, especially car payments. And I know everybody feels like they have to have a car, and I get that. I need a car as well. But you don't have to have car payments. We choose to have car payments. And that's really when I realized I was a sure enough financial fool, because I had car payments, paying $500, $600, $100 for a car, but didn't have any retirement. And if you're in that situation, that's a good indicator that you are a financial fool if you're paying $500, $600, $700 for a car and you don't have anything saved up for retirement. You don't have anything for yourself. You don't have a significant nest egg for yourself. Because if you have a significant nest egg, then if you wanted to pay $500 or $600, $700 for a car, $1,000 for a car, then go for it. But if you haven't done anything for yourself just yet, it doesn't pass the common sense test to go out and make that kind of purchase and then make payments over a 5, 6, 7 year period. Now, some people say that you don't want to wait until you get all the way out of debt before you start investing. I believe that myself. I didn't get all the way out before I started investing. I got out a little bit and I started investing. And then in 2019, 20, and 21, I was able to max those investments out. So it comes a point in the time when you get out of debt and you have more money available, you can do more as far as investing in things that you want to invest in. So getting out of debt and then, continuing to move further and further out of debt is even more important. Now, after you've gotten out of that consumer debt, then we take a look at my house. I start saying to myself, man, I want to be an owner. I don't want to just live in my house and pay a note for the rest of my life. I want to own this house so that the money that I'm putting toward my house, now I don't have to pay that note anymore. Now I can use that money for investing or for lifestyle or for whatever I want to use it for. I don't have to be burdened with a note that I'm paying on my house. I can say, now I have that money to do other things with. So I want to own my asset. I want to own my house as quickly as possible. That's how I see it. And I don't have to worry about having any place to stay. That place is mine and it's paid for, good to go. And when you think about it, one of the biggest expenses that you have is housing. So if you go ahead and secure that now, take care of that, you don't have to worry about that anymore. And you're having your income going back into your cash flow now, and you can do some different things with it to grow your wealth even more. So once you go ahead and start looking at your house, you're going to start looking at paying that thing off to own it. I think that's a big win for you. It's going to help you to start to build wealth even faster. So what I hope that I was able to convey to you in this video is that regardless of your financial situation right now, you can change it. You can change it by making different decisions, having a different approach, a different outlook on your finances. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Certainly hope this information has been helpful. Don't forget, if you want a hoodie like the one that I'm wearing today, or if you want one that says Future Millionaire, make sure you scroll to the bottom of this video and get yours today. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.